Now, in other news, 8 people were hurt after a man in Boulder, Colorado, threw homemade firebombs into a crowd at a weekly demonstration to raise visibility for Israeli hostages in Gaza. Authorities have named 45-year-old Mohammed Suleiman as the attacker, and he is now in police custody. The FBI says it's investigating the incident as an act of terrorism.
Witnesses are reporting that the subject used a makeshift flamethrower and threw an incendiary device into the crowd. The suspect was heard to yell, "Free Palestine," during the attack. The subject has been identified as Mohammed Sabri Solomon, and he's 45 years old. The FBI is processing the crime scene and the subject vehicle and interviewing key witnesses. We're assisting Boulder police in providing technical, analytic, and additional forensic resources. As a result of these preliminary facts, it is clear that this is a targeted act of violence, and the FBI is investigating this as an act of terrorism.
We can now go across to our correspondent, Fraser Jackson, standing by in Washington. Fraser, what's the latest coming out of Boulder, Colorado?
Well, yes, 8 people then being injured at the Pearl Street shopping mall in Boulder when a man used what police were just initially describing as a makeshift flamethrower and incendiary devices into a crowd, setting those 8 people on fire. Now, video online from the attack shows the shirtless man shouting with bottles in his hands, which witnesses say were filled with alcohol, which he used to fan the flames. Now, there were a range of injuries, at least one of which was believed to be life-threatening, and the victims were taken to multiple hospitals around the area and are aged between 52 to 88 years old. Law enforcement has now officially named the suspect as 45-year-old Egyptian citizen Mohammed Suleiman. He was pointed out on scene, taken into custody and also taken to hospital for minor injuries when he accidentally set himself on fire. The Department of Homeland Security officials now have confirmed that he was in the country illegally, having overstayed his visa. Now, he'd originally applied to enter the US on a tourist visa before filing for asylum a month later in September 2022. That asylum appeal was pending and he was given a work authorization in March 2023, but that expired in March of this year, at which point it appears that he remained in the country illegally. Now, he's been booked on multiple felony charges. He's going to be appearing in court at 1:30 p.m. local time, where we're likely to hear more about what the government is charging him with. But police were at first hesitant to call this a targeted attack on that pro-Israeli group, but it is now clear in the investigation that it was a targeted attack because witnesses say that Suleiman shouted "Free Palestine" and other pro-Palestinian remarks during the attack. So the investigation still ongoing. State, local and federal law enforcement all helping to investigate this, including the FBI, who are treating it as a targeted terror attack, and charges against Suleiman may change in the coming days as well.
Fraser, there has been a rise in anti-Semitic acts over in the United States since the 7th of October attacks 2023. Less than 2 weeks ago, you and I were talking about 2 Israeli embassy staffers who were killed after they exited an event at the Capitol Jewish Museum.
Yeah, that event really shocked a lot of people here in DC and around the country. It happened just blocks from where I am right now and really shook a lot of people up in the community. 2 embassy staffers were leaving a museum in DC, leaving an event which had actually been calling for the promotion of aid into the Gaza Strip when they were gunned down on the street, and both of them tragically died. But that now was just less than 2 weeks ago, and this is the second anti-Semitic attack that we've seen in the US in the last 2 weeks. Now, anti-Semitism has been rising since the October 7th attack, and notably since Israel's response to the October 7th attack. And anti-Semitism and the rising levels are now being used as well and being politicized at the same time. The anti-Semitism is being used as a pretext by Donald Trump to crack down on higher education, for example. If you look at what's being done with Harvard and other institutions, it is because of the what the administration calls the rising tide of anti-Semitism, that these higher education institutions, the education is not doing enough to crack down upon in the eyes of the administration. But Jewish rights groups now are calling for more to be done federally as well. The CEO of the Jewish Federations of North America called for a 6-point plan in the wake of this attack in Boulder. He wants to see more resources for security personnel at Jewish institutions. He wants to see the FBI's capabilities boosted in terms of intelligence capabilities. And he also wants to see social media platforms held accountable for spreading anti-Semitic hate, among other things. Now, Donald Trump so far has not commented on this incident in person, but we'll see whether he broaches the topic today and anything that can be done about it at the White House.
Fraser, thank you very much for that, Fraser Jackson.